Gonna build a home, then you're never more alone. Live our lives together, call it home sweet home. I told you last night, would have no price. Cause I'm one you love me like you know I'm loving you. You say you're going to love me and always be true. So prove to me, my darling, as we travel two by two, so we can love just a little, love just a little. We're alone, loving like we do. Loving like we love.
All right, we have patient waiting in the green room, my friend, Dr. Leah Parker. Dr. Parker and I will be talking about health-related matters, spiritual-related matters, and the events today. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us, my dear. It's going to be 82 degrees here in my part of the Ozarks today. How about where you are?
I'm not sure, but it's been beautiful, I'll tell you. I spent a lot of time yesterday in Branson, and it was just absolutely beautiful. These are the days that we really live for, aren't they?
Absolutely, they are. Well, I got my Triumph out yesterday and we had a nice drive to Steelville and back, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, Doctor, I've come to realize why Bobby Kennedy Jr. is not doing more than he's doing at the moment, and the reason is all his staff have not been confirmed. The ones that need Senate confirmation have not yet been confirmed. So he's holding back until that confirmation, and that makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I mean, you can't do it all on your own. I'm not real privy on exactly how long that normally takes for all of that to happen, but I know that it does take a little bit of time to get everybody in place and stuff in order.
Well, it does, and I think my belief is that once his people are all confirmed, that he and his staff will hit the ground running, and they'll do the things that have been promised. Banning fluoride from the drinking water nationwide, which is a major crisis. It's been going on for about 60 plus years. Releasing the data, the real data about the vaccines, that none of the childhood vaccines are safety tested. That's pretty alarming. And there'll be many other things, don't you think, Doctor?
Well, I can only imagine. I mean, we've heard so many things already with this DOGE, Department of Government. What's the last E? What's that one? Efficiency?
Yeah, right. Department of Government Efficiency.
I've been joking. It looks like the Department of Government Expulsion, but I know that there's a lot of things that need to be overhauled in the government, and so we can only hope for the best,
Well, we can. Once it became public knowledge that USAID was ordering people to shred important documents, I believe that the U.S. Attorney should have had the U.S. Marshals go in there and evacuate the building and lock down everything to prevent that shredding of documents that is destroying critical evidence. That didn't happen, obviously, and we may or may not be able to recover the critical documents that have been shredded and put in burn bags. But you don't do that unless you're trying to hide criminal behavior, do you, Dr. Leah?
Well, it looks like there are lots of ways they've been trying to hide criminal behavior. They can either do it through fires, through, there's a lot of suspect things like the Pacific Palisades, even in California, all those homes were up for sale that were some of those rich people that supposedly were on the Epstein list that never came out. It's all smoke and mirrors. But eventually there was a bad fire that burned there. People were talking. We don't really know if it's true or not because it's hearsay. But when you look at what's going on, it looks bad. Just like when you're talking about shredding documents. I mean, I heard that they had shredder trucks pulled up outside of one of the government buildings at one point. I thought, my goodness, I didn't know there was such a thing as a shredder truck.
Oh, yes.
But
yes. A friend of mine, he owned I think he sold it, but he owned a company that had several of those shredder trucks, and they got very powerful shredders on board that can go through hundreds of documents, thousands of documents very, very quickly. Well, Dr. going back to health and wellness, Bobby Kennedy has said we don't need more medicine. What we need is cleaner and better and healthier food. What do you think about that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, people don't really take time to slow down and think. I mean, medicine is not what our body runs off of. Our body runs off of food and nutrients and minerals, and we need to make sure we're getting enough digestive enzymes in our food when we eat. I mean, the Bible talks about letting the land rest after seventh year so that you can the soil can replenish itself with probiotics and necessary bacteria there that help the plants that are growing in the soil to have digestive enzymes and plenty of probiotics on the outside. But when you crank out so much food with so much poison that they're putting on pesticides and things like that, I mean, I covered that in my paper. I mean, we are putting so many pesticides on our food, and then they're putting preservatives in our food, and then they're putting multiple food dyes. And a lot of this stuff is banned in Europe and has been for a long, long time. But in America, it's like, come on in, let's eat red dye 40. I mean, that's some of the most toxic things. That right there are removed from certain children's bodies, help them calm down and not be hyperactive. So, yes, I'm very hopeful that he can get in there and do some of the things that we have been screaming about for years.
There used to be, I don't know if she's still doing, a woman who was going around the country giving speeches, and she had with her a 5-year-old or 7-year-old Happy Meal that looked like she just bought it. Are you aware of that?
Oh, yes. I've seen some of those foods that they buy, and they'll put it under like just a clear glass and leave it there. And it's been sitting there for like 10 years, and it looks like they bought it yesterday. It's very strange. No mold or anything will even grow on it, which tells you a lot.
I bought a couple of scoops of mint chocolate chip ice cream. This is about 25 years ago, from a national chain. It was summertime. I only had air conditioning in my bedroom, not in the kitchen, and the overnight low was maybe 75 degrees. I couldn't eat all the ice cream, so I put it in the sink. And the next morning, it had not melted. That's pretty scary, isn't it?
Wow. Well, John, unless it was freezing in your house, I'll tell you that's strange.
No. There was no air conditioning in the kitchen. The overnight low was maybe 75 degrees, and the ice cream had not melted overnight.
That is a strange phenomenon for sure. Well, I'll say this: there's so many different things that are in the foods that are causing problems for children that, if we can just clean up our act in what we're putting in our body, then we can start maybe looking at taking some of the things out of circulation, even like that red dye 40. Hopefully that can that's some bad stuff for a lot of people.
It is. Well, you do private consultations, doctor. If a person wants a private consultation, what number would they call?
They can call 417-559-0216. And if I don't answer right away, I usually answer within 24 to 48 hours. I will get back with you and we can schedule a consultation. I do live blood cell analysis, nutritional consultations. I network with other doctors there and in the surrounding areas. And it's getting to be interesting. There's more and more natural medicine coming into the Midwest now, where it was definitely you could find naturopaths and options for like vitamin IVs and things that are very healthy for the body to help boost your immune system on the West Coast and on the East Coast, but not really here in the Midwest. But it's getting to, I see the climate changing, and I'm very excited about that.
Doctor, I had a chiropractor tell me once that the chiropractor had a female patient adult woman in her 40s or 50s who took pride in the fact that, quote unquote, I never drink water. That's pretty strange, isn't it?
Oh, wow. Well, I know that a lot of people don't drink water, but to take pride in that is definitely a strange stance.
Well, the combination of getting rid of vaccines and having clean, healthy food will certainly help all Americans, won't it?
Oh, absolutely. And John, there was a doctor, Don Colbert, I believe was his name. He wrote a book called The 7 Pillars of Health. And when I was a nurse and learning in my younger years, my children were very small. I read one of the 7 pillars of health he talked about was water, and how it's important for us to drink water, that we know what's actually in this water. And he talked about the shower was one of the most toxic places in our home if we did not know. Like if we're on city water and we don't have a filter, we're just inhaling all of those toxins right into our body and through our lung. And that really had an effect on me.
That's right. Well,
oh, my goodness.
About half the public water supply nationwide has fluoride in it, which is an incredibly dangerous toxic poison. So dangerous that they no longer sell it as rat poison. It's too dangerous to be sold as rat poison. And I frequently, I don't know about frequently, but I talk about fluoride and how dangerous it is frequently. And most people don't have a clue. For example, I think Crest toothpaste is probably one of the biggest sellers. There's a black box warning on the Crest toothpaste that if you swallow toothpaste, to call poison control. And people simply aren't aware of something that obvious, are they?
Well, John, people think just because it's on the shelf that it's fine. They haven't done any due diligence. They don't study anything, and people normally do not mind being ignorant as long as it's not affecting them that they know of immediately. And so that's the problem with society. Unless there's just a massive problem, people don't realize every day you're living today. But if you want to live tomorrow, you better be wise about what you're doing today.
Doctor, my first radio show in St. Louis, I was talking about the toothpaste warning, and a lady called up later in the show after I gave that warning, that information, and she says, John, I went to my medicine cabinet, I took the toothpaste out, it says exactly what you said. If you swallow toothpaste, call poison control. This is an older woman, and she was shocked that the toothpaste she's been using for decades warned her to call poison control if she swallowed it. It's amazing how something can be right in your face and people won't even know it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I've been knowing about fluoride making people docile and being damaging to your body and your brain and all of this for a long, long time. And so I always told the children at school, don't let them use that fluoride to rinse their mouth off in. We don't need that. We use a toothpaste that's imported, and it's from India, and it's a little more expensive, and you have to get it at a health food store, but it's worth it. And occasionally I can get it a little cheaper at TJ Maxx. So I watch there for things like that, because you have to get creative, sadly, in the Midwest to try and find some of these things early on, but now you can have it all just delivered to your door. So absolutely, while you can, get the things that don't have fluoride. If you don't have like extra cash to buy the little more expensive toothpaste, use baking soda and hydrogen peroxide to brush your teeth.
Right.
It's phenomenal, but make sure you rinse the hydrogen peroxide off of your teeth. It's good to get rid of germs in your mouth, but you want to rinse it off after you're done so it doesn't erode the enamel on your teeth.
Well, my wife, she makes our toothpaste that we use using essential oils and sea salt and some other things. It's good toothpaste. You get your teeth clean, and that's just a small part of overall hygiene, but it's an important part, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, people don't understand that you can have some of these. There was a doctor that I was studying, and Hulda Clark, and back when you wouldn't get in trouble for saying the word cure with natural medicine, she wrote a book called The Cure for All Diseases. And she actually talked about when you do these root canals that there's no way that they can put a post up in there that fits perfectly, and germs are microscopic, so they can just jump back up in there, and it's a constant draining of germs from that hole that they made with the root canal. And if you look, there were some studies that said 95% of women that had breast cancer had root canals on that side. And so it just constantly would drain into the lymph nodes under the arm and then eventually go into breast cancer.
Well, that's very scary, and maybe a good update for all the ladies listening that the root canal may be a source of getting breast cancer in the future. That might be a good thing to look further into, especially for the woman, couldn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I just decided, I mean, there are things that you can do naturally. Like I had an old root canal. This was before I knew this, that had gone bad, and I didn't really know what to do about it. So I just used a little oregano P73. That specific brand of oregano oil is very strong, and I used a drop of it on there with a little DMSO that's a carrier, and swished it right back and forth and spit it out. And then I did not rinse my mouth and went to bed, and the next morning I didn't have any pain. So I did that little regimen for probably a year at night, and decided what I wanted to do about I knew I needed, and eventually I just pulled it out because I did not want to have any issues.
We have a break. Call number. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. My website is thelibertyman.com. This hour is sponsored by NanoSoma. Just go to the I Want My Health Back panel at my website. Listen to the 1 hour audio there. I've been using the NanoSoma for about a year with great results. You can also. Visiting with Dr. Leah Parker. If you want a private consultation with Dr. Parker, just give her a call at 417-559-0216. I say again, 417-559-0216. Doctor, I've had chiropractors tell me that changing a person's diet, what they eat and what they don't eat, is almost impossible. Have you run into that phenomenon yourself? You're on mute,
I've
Doctor.
said it over and over, John, that the hardest thing to change is someone's diet. And I'm not going to say it's any different for me. We all have to learn to have self-control. And that's a very difficult thing when it comes to habits, because people don't really realize the fact that most people are not self-aware, especially when you're young and you'll be stress eating, or you're eating because it's enjoyment and you're just not thinking. You're just eating because it's fun, and you're at a gathering with friends, and before you know it, you've not had any kind of restraint. You've not set any boundaries for yourself, and then you feel bad. You wish you hadn't eaten. So just coming into an understanding that, hey, in America, people just go to these big food bars and graze. Nothing tastes as good as being healthy feels, in my opinion. You've got to come to that determination. Even though these things taste great, it doesn't taste better than being healthy feels.
I haven't mentioned this for a while, but this would be a good time to mention it. At the chiefs meetings that they have once a month here in Crawford County, the fire chiefs, the paramedics, the deputies, the police chiefs, 2 or 3 times a year, the paramedic chiefs will thank the fire chiefs for the following thing. Thank you for coming and cutting out the side of the house because our patient was too big to fit through the door. Now, the standard size of a door is 3 feet wide, which is really big. And imagine a human being that's so big they won't fit through a 3-foot wide door. But that's how bad it's gotten, Leah, that the fire department has to cut out the side of the house for the paramedics to get the morbidly obese person out the door. That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Well, in America, it's the only place that I know of that has a show dedicated to obesity, of My 600-Pound Life.
Is that still playing? Do you know? I don't know.
I don't know, but I've seen a couple of versions of it, and I just wanted to see what were they doing for these people. But it tells you the psychological hold that food has on people, and that it is not a physical thing. This is an emotional and a mental issue. And there are underlying triggers that cause these people to do that. Sometimes people are that big because maybe they were harmed as a child, molested, and inadvertently they decided, well, I like food and I'm just not going to have any restraint, because if I get big, nobody's going to want to do that to me. So there's all of these psychological components there, but we've got to start treating people as a whole. People are not just a mind. People are not just a body. People are not just their emotions. They're all of these things together. And if we can start treating people holistically and understanding that emotions drive everything in this realm. People don't understand that. But when you start looking at that, that is the absolute truth. If you don't have a desire to get up and do something, you're not going to do it.
A quick follow-up on the previous story. In the last 8 or 10 years, all the ambulance services, paramedics nationwide, have had to change out to larger gurneys because the gurneys weren't large enough to hold the much more larger American morbidly obese patients. Obesity is a nationwide disaster, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And John, one of the things that was shocking to me, so I always thought it was just that they weren't eating correctly. Some people just, they can fast even and can't lose weight. It's difficult. I mean, they can lose, but not like someone would that didn't have whatever issues in their body. So I found out that on the Prenatal Programming and Toxicity International Conference, this is the CDC, the World Health Organization, the National Institutes of Health, Basic Clinical and Pharmacology, European Environment Agency. They all come together, and they were looking at how babies' bodies program with toxins in them. And they even said that these toxins that get in the body can cause all of these diseases like endocrine dysfunctions and diseases. It can cause cancer. And even at the end, they said obesity. I was very shocked that some of these toxins could alter you genetically to where...
It is shocking. We have a break. Call number is 512. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. My website is thelibertyman.com. There's a lot there. You can spend many hours educating yourself, making yourself happy, making yourself angry, making yourself sad, all at thelibertyman.com. Visiting with Dr. Leah Parker. You want a private consultation, just give her a call at 417-559-0216. Doctor, I've known many chiropractors over the years, and one chiropractor told me that he had a healthy adult woman who was doing yard work every day, all day in the hot summer, and she drank a 2-liter bottle of diet soda every day for about 2 months. And she went from being a healthy, normal woman to being type 2 diabetic because of drinking that 2-liter bottle of diet soda every day for 2 months. Does that surprise you?
Well, not really, because when you are talking about certain genetic predispositions, it doesn't take a whole lot for some people to be thrown into some sort of disease process or altered health condition.
I was going to say altered health condition because diabetes is not a disease. It's a condition similar to hitting your thumb with a hammer. That's a condition. And diabetes is a condition also that you create by what you do and don't do, correct?
Absolutely. And they use disease for a lot of things that I don't believe, like you say, are disease. It's just an alteration in our health because we've altered what we were doing to our bodies. And then a lot of times you can alter your DNA and pass it on to subsequent generations, they found, through all of these toxins and the preservatives. I mean, John, there are natural and synthetic
Well,
chemicals.
now you're getting into an area that's I find really scary. I just on my COVID panel at my website yesterday, we just posted a video of a doctor talking about that, how the COVID vaccinations are altering DNA. So we have about half our population who took the COVID vaccinations who are altering their DNA, and that could affect generations in the future, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the difference in the vaccines today that they're cranking out these mRNA, they are snipping out a portion of your genetics and adding something into it. Now, before, the vaccines they gave you would just break your DNA and cause disease or symptoms like, autism, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, hyperallergies where you're so allergic that you die, these type of things, long-term chronic illness is what it's causing. It's breaking your body down. But now they're creating something different for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Bobby Kennedy Jr. says, and it's backed up by evidence, that 70% of American adults have a chronic illness of some sort. We have a very unhealthy country, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. And when I wrote this paper years ago, it's about childhood chronic disease and dysfunction awareness, because children were starting to have these massive numbers, of juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and type 1 diabetes and all of these problems, and they didn't understand why. And so I just collectively put together, I know Bobby is talking about the food supply and stuff right now, when we've got this butylated hydroxyanisole, BHA, and TBHQ, and all of these things that are toxic that can be carcinogens. And then we've got mycoprotein is a meat substitute. You've got all kinds of preservatives that people don't know what they can do to their neurological systems or cause cancer. And so if people don't start educating themselves and speaking out against this stuff, people don't understand. Like when they tell you that this is safe in this TBHQ or BHT, that means for one, that they're giving you information for you to eat one serving. It's safe, but not to sit down and eat half the box and then eat it. Okay, you eat breakfast cereal that has it in there, then you eat crackers for lunch, and then you eat popcorn for dinner, and now you've thrown yourself into a toxic state that the government, the Food and Drug Administration, did not say it's safe for you to eat. They just said it's safe for you to eat, a reasonable amount of this stuff.
Right. So there's a cumulative effect, obviously, isn't there?
Absolutely, John. And the fact that you've got something that is damaging your gut lining, like that Roundup that they're spraying on everything, that damages the lining of the gut to where your transit time from your mouth to the toilet is way slowed down. And then you've got issues with that. And then you get in there with leaky gut syndrome, because you've got it that damages the lining of the gut, and everybody's eating it.
I've heard, I assume it's true, I don't know, that Roundup salesmen from Monsanto would drink some Roundup to show how safe it was. I wonder what's happened to those guys.
I don't know, but I'd like to look at their blood for sure.
Yeah, my belief is that they probably regret having done that. They were probably told it was safer, they wouldn't have done it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'd be surprised if they're still alive.
Yeah, so would I.
That's shocking, isn't it? That we're actually talking about people doing that, and that they would not have any pause. That tells you we're dealing with not a very intelligent population in America. If half of our population is less than average IQ, we're in trouble, John.
Well, according to the almost gone Department of Education, half the adults in this country are either illiterate or semi-literate. That's pretty scary also, isn't it?
Well, when you're packing in so many toxins, enough aluminum to choke a horse before you get a good breath in, we're going to vaccinate your baby with all of this stuff. Well, what are you stimulating in these babies at less than 24 hours? There's no immune system. They're getting it from their mother. How are you supposed to be stimulating something that's not there?
Good point. Good point. Well, going back to diabetes, in the country of Japan, not a single man, woman, or child had type 2 diabetes. Not a single one before they introduced Western food. And then they started getting type 2 diabetes. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise, right?
Oh, I'm going to tell you, John, the food supply is just depleted. People are not getting nutrients. And then when they put that food enhancement flavoring on there to make you want to run back and get more and more and more of it, and it's excitotoxins that they're putting on the food for you.
That's
right. MSG.
That's right. Doctor, we had a caller on hold. We got JP in Chicago. Good morning, JP.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We hear you fine. Go ahead.
Oh, great topics today. I'd like to add to the conversation with that DNA changing. I just read an article from RT about depleted uranium, and it was just been classified, covered up for a long time. But they're finding out studies, guys that were in Beirut, when a bomb explodes today, or let's say a shell, 120 millimeter shell out of our tanks, it creates this dustification. And if you breathe that in, it's literally you're breathing in uranium. And the half-life on uranium is 4.5 billion years. And it's been found that the men pass it through the semen to their wives, and it also goes genetically to the children. The children are born with birth defects. I just thought I'd throw that out there. If anybody's in a combat situation or Ukraine, or you breathe that stuff in, it's like being in a nuclear blast zone. Have you heard anything about that in the past, John?
I have. That's been that's been public knowledge for some time, but not that widespread, JP. So thank you for letting us know about that again.
Yeah, so many things, and the showering. It took me a while. I've been drinking spring water forever, but when I moved to the city, I was getting affected by the showers. So that's a thing where I do a Navy shower now. I've been doing that for years. I hate to tell people that, but yeah, the fluoride is horrible for you. The food, the fast food, everything is just designed to kill you. So that these Rockefeller allopathic doctors can make millions off of sickness and death. So that's all I got to say. Great topics today.
Thank you, JP.
Your guests.
Thank you. We appreciate your call. The call number is 512-248-8252. Well, Doctor, you're never going to have a lack of clients, are you, my dear?
Well, we're not. And the thing about it, we just want people to be healthy, and we want them to be smart, and we want them to think logically. I mean, everybody has things they like to eat that are bad. If you like to eat Skittles, you're eating a bunch of bad stuff. Everybody loves to eat a couple of Skittles here and there, and I use that as an example. I'm not saying you can't have some of this stuff once in a while. If you can find an alternative, great. If you are at a party and you want to eat it, that's fine, but know that you're going to need to take something to get it out of your system. It's something about just being calm and knowledgeable and capable of understanding, if I eat this, I need to boost my glutathione so that I can make sure that my detox system is working well. I'm going to make sure I eat some Immunical every day of the week before I go in to a big birthday party and eat things that I don't need to have. Or if I'm going to get an x-ray, and I know, like at the dentist, and I know that I'm going to have issues with lowering my glutathione because Tylenol lowers glutathione, toxins lower glutathione, radiation from x-rays lower glutathione. So I'm going to boost my glutathione. If we could just become intelligent, we could at least push some of these diseases back to where we wouldn't have them until we do get old, and we might actually live to be 120 like the Bible says.
Well, being 120 is one thing, but being 120 and still having a full, productive, fun life. That's what we really want, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, John. And we don't see a lot of that anymore, especially you don't see it. It's unheard of in America. But if you go to some of these blue zones, there's people living to be a whole lot older than we are. They're living a couple of lives compared to many Americans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm hoping and praying that Bobby Kennedy Jr. will be successful to make America healthy again, get rid of the vaccines, get rid of the harmful additives that we put in the food, and he's got his work cut out for him, doesn't he?
Well, they all do, John. If we're going to make America, great again, or make America even be aware of what's going on, I mean, that's a huge job, just waking people up to what's actually happening, and we need everybody in the fight. We don't need we need everybody in the fight.
We do, absolutely. Well, as we move forward,
I wanted to talk to you a little bit.
Please, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, what do you want to talk about, my dear?
One of the things we were talking, you were discussing the food supply and the things that are in the food supply. When you start looking at the things that are in the food supply, this partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, I know that a lot of people don't think about it, but that's in like microwave popcorn. The vegetable oil is usually in liquid form, can be made into a semi-solid shortening by reacting it with hydrogen. And so this produces levels of polyunsaturated oils, and it creates trans fat, and that can promote heart disease in people. And that's a huge issue. We're seeing so many people that don't understand it's better just to eat plain old butter. Some of the things that we can do are going back. Now, I'm not saying you need to eat butter every day, all day long, but I would much rather eat something that is natural than something that has been, these hydrogenated oils are not good at all for our health. And we're talking about heart attacks. Now they're saying it could be even related to some breast cancers and things like that. So people need to be aware. Read the label, look up the stuff. The sodium nitrates and the sodium nitrites are used for preserving and for coloring and flavoring things. And, these can cause severe allergies in some people. And they're known to cause cancer.
Well, Doctor, I was in a supermarket a couple of days ago locally, and there was a pallet is 4 by 4 feet, and in the aisle there was a pallet of canola oil for sale. Give us your opinion of canola oil, please.
Well, I'll say this. I use olive oil, and I use coconut oil, and occasionally, if I go down south, I will get a little bit of the pecan oil to add flavors. But I try to use butter, and I try to use natural things, because some of these oils will clog up your arteries, and they make you sluggish. They make you feel bad. It's just not a good idea to use these things if you can stay away from these seed oils.
Well, canola, first of all, there's no such thing as canola oil. It's a marketing name for rapeseed oil, which human beings should never, ever consume. Before I knew about this, I had a gallon of canola oil, and it's now in my garage, and I wrote on it with a magic marker, for lubricating tools. So I lubricate my shovels and axes with the canola oil, because canola oil should never, ever be inside a human being. But it's cheap and it's plentiful, and since it's for sale at the local supermarket, people think it's safe, don't they?
Oh, yeah, and you see it at Walmart and everywhere you go. But I try to steer clear. I mean, I'll go into Walmart to buy a few things, but I try to go to the health food stores to purchase things if I have to, and then buy locally if I can. But, John, the education is huge. I mean, we really need to get people together to learn so that they can protect their children. I mean, people are still bellying up for these shots and don't even know that they're not effective. They're not safe. Some of these vaccine companies have been sued by the government for lying about how effective they actually have been or supposed to be.
Hold on. We have a break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Dr. Leah, this hour has flown by. We've covered a lot of territory here. And I want to remind people, if you want a private consultation with Dr. Leah, just give her a call. If she doesn't pick up, just leave a message at 417-559-0216. That journey towards optimal health and well-being begins with that first phone call, doesn't it, Doctor?
Well, it does. It seems overwhelming, but, you know, it's not. Once you get the information and you start, I mean, it's difficult. Like you say, we started today talking about how difficult it is to change our diet. And I think it becomes overwhelming when we try to do it all at one time. And that can work for certain personality types. But I tell people, hey, let's start with, if you're eating a candy bar every day, replace it with a banana. Replace it with a piece of fruit that you actually like. So if you can get a hold of your diet and you can start getting some exercise, maybe find a dry sauna so you're not sitting in somewhere inhaling all of the toxins in the water if there's no filtration system on it. Find a dry sauna, learn to sweat. That's your third kidney. Make sure you're, you know, before you start any type of regimen, always, you know, this is general information. Go to your doctor and make sure that you're healthy enough to do it. But most people, if they're, you know, already doing some sort of exercise and they're already a little bit conscious minded, they're able to do some of these things and they can start feeling better and get motivated. And find an accountability partner, someone you trust that's not going to dog you out if you fall off the wagon. They're going to encourage you to get back on and start doing some things that will detox your body, like boosting your glutathione level by taking the precursors to glutathione. Do a fast if you don't have a lot of money, you know, and you don't have a lot. That is a perfect way to reset your body. So there's a lot of ways that we could combat this stuff if we would just take a little time to research some of it or make an appointment. I'm not going to beat you up because I fall off the wagon quite regularly and eat things that I know maybe I shouldn't be eating, like a hamburger or whatever. But I also am cognizant of what I am putting in when I'm not eating the hamburger as well.
Well, this awareness is something people need to get, and people need a coach. They need somebody, a teacher. They need somebody to give them guidance. And that's what you provide, isn't it, Doctor?
Well, I hope so. That's, you know, we all have been to the doctor that's in a hurry, that's rushing out the door to get to the next patient because they have to, because they're in a system that strapped them into that. I am not that person.
All right. Doctor, thank you very much. Have a great week, and we'll visit with you again next Thursday.